Now, businesses, when they are operating, they have certain goals, or we could say objectives. Okay. And these objectives are to be very clear to the business, right? Because you set objectives because you want to achieve them. And why do you want to achieve them? Because you have certain aims. Like, for example, Zadatar, if they haven't mentioned anything, every person who is doing a business, their primary objective is this. So we're going to work with this one first. We say primary objective is profit maximization. So before we get into that, I think we should clarify what do we mean by profit. Okay? How do you calculate profit? सो प्रॉफिट की जहाँ तक बात है, प्रॉफिट तो एक फाइनेंशियल गेन है. ठीक है, इट्स अ फाइनेंशियल गेन दैट व्हेन यू आर ऑपरेटिंग अ बिजनेस you want to have this. You want the money that you're investing, you should want to get a higher return from it. So there's a formula to calculate profit. Profit is simply you take your total revenue and you subtract total cost from it. Now, don't forget that revenue आपने निकाला था प्राइस इंटू क्वांटिटी से, और टोटल कॉस्ट निकाला था आपने फिक्स्ड प्लस वेरिएबल कॉस्ट से, right? So don't forget how you are actually calculating this. All right. So since this is a case and we're saying firms का जो objective होता है, they want to make sure that they maximize their profit. So let's make a table and see if we can figure that out. So what we're going to take is, let's make a table. You're going to have sales, we will have the price, and I want you to calculate the revenue. I'll give you the total cost. And let's see what the profit is. All right. Let me place in some numbers. 0, 100, 200, up to 500, let's say. The product's price is 30, 25. So as the price is falling, quantity demanded is increasing. And then let me take the total cost from what we have already done in our previous lectures. All right, let's solve for this. All right, so the revenues are 30 की price पे 0, sales revenue is 0, 2500, 4000, 4500, 4000, 2500. So if you see, as we discussed earlier in revenue का case, ओवर हियर जब प्राइस और क्वांटिटी का डायग्राम बनाते हैं तो डिमांड कर्व डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग आ रहा है, और डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग के अंदर वी ऑलरेडी सीन हाउ द रेवेन्यू इंक्रीजेज एट फर्स्ट एंड देन इट स्टार्ट्स टू गो डाउन. दैट्स व्हाट वी सीन हियर. And then we have our total costs also given to us. So let's take out our profitability. So in our first case, we have a loss, right? And then we go into profits. Our profits are increasing, and then it starts to decrease again until it goes into a loss. So as we can see over here, the profit maximization is at 300 units, where the firm will produce 1300. तो प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन को किस तरीके से डिफाइन करते हैं? यू शुड बी एबल टू नॉट जस्ट be able to define what profit is. Like I mentioned, profit is the financial gain. It is calculated through revenue minus the total cost. But profit maximization um, is the point of output at which there is the greatest distance between total revenue and total cost, whereas there is a greatest distance between total revenue and total cost. Now, basically with this table that we have, इसका diagram बन सकता है, and how will this diagram look like? Okay, I'm just going to give you a rough idea as to how this diagram is going to look like. Okay, so do make it. So based on plotting total revenue and total cost on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis. So based on the diagram on the left, our total revenue went up, not linear, but it's going up like this. Yeah, we're going to draw both total revenue and total cost on the same diagram. So हमारा revenue increases at first and then it starts to fall down. This is how the total revenue is going to look like. It's not going all the way to zero. So because the demand curve was downward sloping, our revenue increases at first and then it starts to come down. हमारा total cost based on, again, the numbers that we have, हमारे पास एक फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट है 1000 की, तो दैट्स व्हाई द ग्राफ इज गोइंग टू, फॉर टोटल कॉस्ट इट्स गोइंग टू गो फ्रॉम, इट्स गोइंग टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम वाई एक्सिस के ऊपर 1000 के ऊपर, and then the total cost will increase at a decreasing rate, and then it's going to go down like this, and then it's going to start picking up like that. This is the shape that we've already done in our cost के lecture के अंदर, as to this is how it's going to look like. It's going to increase and then increase at a slowing pace, and then it increases. So this is what these numbers are telling us. अब देखो, what we've seen is कि if you are producing zero, आपको loss हो रहा है, right here. Revenue is zero. Total cost is 1000, you're making a loss. In fact, you are making a loss until this point. You see over here, right here, total revenue is equals to total cost. That means you're at a break-even point at this quantity. Here, let me color it with red कि ये सारा loss represent कर रहा है. After this certain point, you move into a profit region. As long as the revenue is above the total cost, you are making profits. And after this point, you again go into the loss region because total cost ऊपर चला गया और revenue नीचे आ गया. Now, what I'm talking about is स्पेसिफिक क्वांटिटी के पॉइंट्स के ऊपर। तो हो ये रहा है कि 300 का जो पॉइंट है, 300 यूनिट्स का जो पॉइंट है, वहां पर आपका रेवेन्यू है हाईएस्ट के ऊपर 4500, और कॉस्ट है 3200। और यहाँ पे ये जो वर्टिकल डिस्टेंस है यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक, this is telling us that you are making a profit of about 1300. Do you understand that? If you go to a lower quantity, say over here, your revenue और profit cost के बीच में जो difference है वो कम हो जाएगा। If you move on this side, again revenue और cost में जो difference है वो कम हो जाएगा। Over here you have the greatest distance between the total revenue and the total cost. So graphically, this is one interpretation, profit maximization का। अब क्योंकि इसमें तो डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग डिमांड कर्व था, तो इसीलिए तुम्हारे पास ये इंटरप्रिटेशन आई है। व्हाट इफ इस प्रोडक्ट की प्राइस कांस्टेंट रहती, तो फिर हम कौन सा रेवेन्यू का कर्व बनाते? तो उसमें रेवेन्यू का कर्व, इन आवर प्रीवियस लेक्चर वी सॉ कि इफ द प्राइस डजंट चेंज, दैट रेवेन्यू लुक्स लाइक दिस, जस्ट कीप्स ऑन राइजिंग। और जहां तक कॉस्ट की बात है, कॉस्ट का कर्व एग्जैक्टली जो मैंने ऊपर ड्रॉ किया है, आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू ड्रॉ द सेम, इस तरह से टोटल कॉस्ट, और उसके अंदर मैं एक स्पेसिफिक क्वांटिटी पे देखूंगा जहां पे आई विल हैव द ग्रेटेस्ट डिस्टेंस बिटवीन द टोटल रेवेन्यू एंड द टोटल कॉस्ट, और वहां पे मेरा प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन नज़र आएगा। एनी पॉइंट आफ्टर दैट, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल ये क्वांटिटीज़ में लॉसेस हो रहे हैं बिकॉज द ग्रीन लाइन इज़ अबव द ब्लैक लाइन, इसके बाद भी वो लॉस का रीजन शुरू हो जाता है, और सिर्फ जो प्रॉफिट का रीजन है वो यहाँ पर है, जिसके अंदर प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन वो एक स्पेसिफिक इस क्वांटिटी के ऊपर आ रही है, जहाँ पे यू विल हैव द ग्रेटेस्ट डिस्टेंस। उसके लेफ्ट और राइट के ऊपर द डिस्टेंस विल बी relatively smaller. So in my graphs I will do this marking that ये जो left वाला है, this is for a downward sloping demand curve, and this is for a perfectly elastic demand curve, right? So the main idea is, in this one the price is changing in the first one, and in this one the price is constant.